Now, in between each of these four political communication orders are these brief periods of major permanent change, these political communication revolutions, as I call them. And what's important to note is that each of these revolutions has followed a very similar path. And that's really important as we think about where we are today and ultimately what is evolving in the current information political communication order. The political communication revolutions each start with a stable communication order. Let's use the broadcast communication order that we've recently been moving away from. Next, you have a new information communication technology introduced, in this case, the internet or web-based tools. This new ICT ultimately gains popularity, and through it gains what I call political viability. Political viability is really all about the idea that it could potentially be useful for political actors, for political organizations to use this new tool. It's possible that a new information communication technology is used by a lot of people but doesn't actually offer some potential benefits to political communication, which is more specific and is targeted towards broad and targeted political communication goals, as we talked about earlier. If there is a sense that there is some political viability there, then there's an initial trial period where political actors may attempt to use this new tool or new tools to try to achieve their political communication goals. Often these initial trials really are failures. We can look at the internet era today. Barack Obama was not the first to use the internet for campaigning. He was just the best to use it for campaigning. Howard Dean made great advances in 2004, and stretching all the way back to the mid-1990s, you see initial trials with people experimenting with using new technology for political purposes towards these traditional political goals, most of which achieved some success but largely were failures, until eventually you have a successful political innovation. So we could look at Barack Obama's use of the internet as an embedded technology in his 2008 campaign as a successful political innovation. It was an innovation that was used strategically and actually created a significant success when it comes to political communication goals. We could compare that to FDR's use of the radio in 1932, John F. Kennedy's use in 1960. All of these were successful political innovations, and each successful political innovation leads to widespread copying and eventually a new status quo that starts to emerge. Other politicians are going to see what works and what doesn't. As it starts to work more and more, then ultimately more people are going to adopt these new strategies. Once a new status quo emerges, then it starts to stabilize a new order, moving from this revolutionary period into the order, and eventually bringing us back to a new stable communication order. As the broadcast era was disrupted through the internet and through new tools, we are currently in the process of moving from a very stable broadcast era to what will become a stable information-based era, but we're still in the middle of that process, somewhere in this cycle. So it's important to note this process as we try to figure out where we are and ultimately what potentially could happen down the road.